You are now live. Good evening. Friday night at the Cavern. Goodness, this is what, the fourth week we're doing this now? All of a sudden it's 4 weeks in. Welcome everybody. It was a very sunny day today. I was out on my bike for a ride, which is marvellous. I've been banging the drums for a couple of hours there, which was marvellous. I have now opened a beer, which is marvellous. And I'm now getting to talk about stones with my pals, which is absolutely marvellous. So, I just kind of noticed now with the sun coming out and everybody getting vaccinated, and you know, there's a slight reduction in the restrictions with lockdown. I can kind of feel that we're heading into sunnier times, and it kind of got me thinking about, you know, about lockdown and how we all get through it. And we all have our different ways that we get through all of this sort of stuff. And for me, I mean, chatting with my pal Brett every day on the phone has been great. You know, hanging out with Mark and Brett over at the Europe's Strongest Man was great. You know, banging my drums, hanging out with Heather and my doggy, they've all been great. I mean, there's things on the internet which have really kind of kept my spirits up. I mean, Jim and Rosemary spraying, sticking up, you know, all of the old videos of stone lifting and the gathering and all that sort of stuff. There's one thing that I've really looked forward to, and it's kind of almost crept up on me. I didn't realise it was happening as quite as often as it was. And that's kind of the theme of today's thing is a stone a day will keep the doctor away. Or a stone a day keeps the doctor away. I've been watching Jamie Gorrian, a pal of mine. I met him in around 2018, end of 2017, start of 2018. And every single day he's out lifting stones all over the place. And it's not just lifting down the road 2 miles, you know, and lifting one at the bottom of the street. He's been all over Scotland, just him and Gail, popping into the car, just driving, lifting the stone in the car and home again, not messing with anybody, not breaking any, you know, social distancing things. But it's been marvellous to watch, you know, it has. And it's not that he's taken on the easier ones. I mean, he's taken on some stones I've never heard of. You know, there's one called the Sheriff Muir, there's the Ardvollic, which I've only recently heard of, through Andy Kearney originally. And my goodness, it's just every day there's all these new stones, and he's looking at the history of them, and he's kind of moving them back to their historic place. So I've really enjoyed that. So I think Jamie Gorrian is, my goodness, where do you start with his, he sort of sent me his CV the other day, and I mean, for me, he's the first Donald Dinnie champion, the first Donald Dinnie Games champion, which I'm very proud of. You know, as it was the first time we had run that, and Jamie was the first winner, which is great and kind of historic. But the sort of things, I mean, Scotland's Strongest Man, 3 times a finalist. Highland's Strongest Man, won it twice. Scottish Arnold's 3rd. World Masters finalist. My goodness, that's a heck of a list on the strongman side of things. You know, he's lifted the Dinnies. He was probably about the 2nd or 3rd man to put the Ardvollic stone up to here. You know, so there's a hell of a CV there. What I love about him is his passion. Is his passion for stone lifting and the history, which is obviously what Brett and Pete and Mark and myself, we're all about the history. You know, and I mean, guys like Andy Kearney and Jamie are right up there, I think, with their passion and how they respect the stones and how they treat them, you know, before and after they lift them, you know, which I think is fabulous. So he's also very great design and t-shirts. This is Grab Life by the Dinnies. This was presented to me by Jimmy a wee while ago. So I'm going to invite Jimmy in. I'm not entirely sure how to do this, but let's just have a wee look, see. Jimmy, are you there? Let's have a look, see. Big sexy Granda, you're there. Oh, there he's there, look. Right, so let me see if I can invite you in. There he's there, so. Invite, there you go, you're invited. Go live. Let's see if he's there. Aha! There he is. What a picture, Jimmy boy.
Alright, how you doing, man?
Not a good enough intro for you.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Screen, so I obviously didn't over-egg it a wee bit, you know.
No, I didn't know how this was going to work. I couldn't get it to work on the laptop, so I have to do it on the phone, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's what I'm doing on mine on my phone too. It's as easy as any.
Right.
It's the best. That's what we've done the last few weeks.
I'm no good with technology, I'm afraid.
Ah, well, sure, we're here now. We are. Welcome to Friday night, pal.
Yeah.
Are you on your protein shakes? I'm on the beer.
Oh no, I've just got a juice.
Oh my goodness, see all you flipping healthy boys. My daddy's watching tonight, so I'm going to keep this very clean.
What's that?
My daddy's watching tonight.
All right. Hi, Jack. How are you? Hope you're well, Jack. Hope you're doing good.
Yep. So, Jamie, I mean, it's obviously been I've kind of skimmed over all the stuff, that you do with stones, But well, it's like I said at the start of the thing. I mean, one of the things I love about you is it's just your passion for the purity of stone lifting. I mean, with all you've done, even the ring stones don't mean as much to you as the natural stones. I've noticed, So, well, what got you
Yeah, I
into
think that's more down to the fact that I suppose I'm built better for lifting stones up onto the chest and onto the shoulder. I'm not very good with ring stones,
Yeah.
I'm not that
right.
great.
I mean, you've lifted the Dinnies, you've lifted breadstones. I mean, come on, it's too.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not confident with them, but I've not been able to train them as much as I'd hoped.
Aye,
competitions sort of, I've competed a lot in the first 3 years of my strongman. I competed the sort of 10 comps every year.
Wow, that's a lot.
So when you're trying to train for that and train for the Dinnies, something's got to give, sort of thing,
Yeah, aye. Shoulders and backs and hips and knees. That's the first thing to do.
Yeah, knees anyway. Knees.
I know. How are all the pains and aches? I know you had a bit of a bad time with shoulders and one thing and another. Everything okay now?
No, I've got a long-term. I don't want to go on about it, but I've got a long-term shoulder injury I've had for a couple of years. And obviously with COVID ongoing, it's been hard to get it diagnosed and fixed.
Yeah, it is hard.
I have been told I'm happy because I'm awaiting shoulder surgery basically, and they've okayed it. So I've got up to a 40-week wait. Essentially,
oh, wow.
It'll be an exploratory surgery in my shoulder to see what's wrong.
Right.
They can't confirm what's wrong. They've not been able to confirm it, but it's it's definitely there, and it's meant really. I can't really press anything. Other than a single arm kind of thing, So
it's hard.
I've been a dampener that one, but no, I'm feeling good apart from that. I'm feeling really good, in fact.
Good stuff. I was just looking at. I was just going through some of your photos, looking for the one to put up on my Instagram, for tonight's thing, and I found some of you about half the man you are now on some of the old photographs. you didn't start out this size. You know what I mean? It's just so watching your progress on some of those photographs, you've come on a hell of a way. Yeah.
Well, I always feel when you compete in strongman, for me personally, the sort of height and the frame I've got, I feel that I'm more competitive when I'm heavier.
Aye, yeah.
It doesn't really make a difference in terms of the stones, but it makes a difference when you're moving with a 400 kilo yoke or something like that.
Say mass moves mass, don't they?
Well, I believe that to be true for me anyway.
Yeah, I've always noticed that. I mean, listening to Brian Shaw's of this world and Eddie Hall's, they say when they're at their heaviest, I mean, likes of the truck pull and all, they find that a lot easier to break that inertia and get the momentum going with the extra body weight.
Plus, there is the fact that I like food too much.
That as well, but when I was a kid, I mean, I could have eaten everything in the house and the people in it, and I wouldn't even have put half a stone on me. I just could not put it up when I was younger, I'm glad I'm close to 60. I find it's a wee bit easier to put weight on,
Well, I was actually listening to you talking with Mark Haydock last week, and I was laughing when he says, he only has these 3 square meals a day. And I'm thinking,
the big squares
by 12 o'clock.
The big squares. One of the things I've really enjoyed, Jamie, I mean, every day you kind of tune in, and there's you out in the Highlands of Scotland, nobody else around but a couple of cows, lifting these stones that nobody's even heard of before, but yet there's history with them. And what started all that off?
Well, I started lifting the stones just after I'd done my first strongman competition, and I think it was October 2017 I started competing. And then, obviously, when you're on Facebook, you begin to get a different sort of friend circle,
Yeah.
And you start to hear of things, and I heard of a couple of stones, and I started sort of doing a wee bit of research on the history, and I thought, right, I'm going to go. I went to Dalwhinnie and lifted the Dalwhinnie stone. That was the first stone I lifted, and
about 100 kilos. Thought, 99 kilos. Yeah.
That's 104 kilos, I think, or 100. Yeah, 104 or 102, I can't remember. But I lifted that, and it was like so cold it was welded to the ground, and I thought, yeah, I could get into this. This is good. So it just kind of grew from there, and I just kind of think that for me as a Scottish strongman, Scottish historic stone lifting goes hand in hand with it for me.
Aye, yeah, it does. I think so too. Yeah, I agree.
It's not everybody feels that way about it or as passionately as I do, but that's the way I feel about it. You know, it's part of it for me.
Well, the thing about it is when you get involved in something like stone lifting, I mean, it's not a choice. I think it gets you. I mean, you have no choice in how you feel about things.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Stevie. When you look at sort of the more sort of, I'm not going to use, I don't know what the right word is, but the more sort of common stone lifters in Scotland, guys like, well, I'll use Martin Jannix and James Graham.
Yep.
As examples.
Yeah, good examples. Stone lifters.
They are examples that are just, the stone's got them, and they're so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened to me. That's about the size of it.
I can certainly get that.
When I talk about strongman, it's something I do.
Mm-hmm.
But the stones, I feel that it's something I am. If you understand what I mean.
Oh, I mean, to think of if you want to compare it to something like, I mean, a doctor or a nurse or a musician, it's a calling. I don't think you have any choice.
Yeah,
It's
become a big passion.
Mm-hmm.
And the things I like about it, you know, it's not. I like all tests of strength. I always have. And I like the stones fascinate me because it's not like going into a gym where, you know, you've got calibrated plates and a bar and you know exactly how it's going to perform and blah blah blah. Yeah. You can go and get a stone that's 150 kilos and you know it's 50 kilos at that side and it's 100 kilos at that side, and how are you going to lift this? There's no handles. It's a puzzle, and I like that aspect of it, you know.
Oh, I me too. Yeah, that's amazing. The first time I tried a natural stone, I mean, I couldn't budge the thing off the ground. I can't even remember what the weight was. It wasn't overly heavy. I think it was 70, 80 kilos. But there was other guys. I was actually out with Clan and I mean, I was trying to pick the thing up with bent arms and all sorts of really bad technique, you know. And
that's the most common mistake people make. They lift a natural stone to the floor. Yeah. They try to lift it with a bicep power and a folded arm, you know, and it's really a straight arm onto the lap kind of thing, you know.
I know. I think that the minute you get that, I mean, it's I mean, everything opens up for you. But when you're trying that, I mean, one thing I love about it when you're doing something like that, and there's other strongmen around you or other stone lifters, everybody wants you to succeed. You know, there's nothing other than encouragement, and they're all right. Try this. You know, and they won't let you leave until you've got it done or until you've died trying.
Yeah.
You know, that brotherhood. I mean, I know you've experienced it. You know, obviously with the games and doing the Arbler stones and going up to Brett's house. You know, it's an amazing feeling. You know, to be in amongst guys who've got the same passion as you.
I've got my Brett t-shirt on.
Oh, good stuff. I like it. Very cool. Very cool. History in the making. Yep.
Yeah.
No question about that, you know. I mean, those stones, you know. I mean, obviously, they were introduced at Charlie's Games, and then they came into the gathering, and now that they've got the world stage, Europe's Strongest Man. You know, that's amazing. You know, to come from sort of our humble beginnings with what we're doing here, seeing that side of it coming through, you know. And I think there's only more to come on that.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, Brett Stones are a unique challenge. I have to say that. You know, they are something else. And the fact that they've been on Europe's Strongest Man is just going to make them so popular. You know, I'm making no secret of the fact I'm in training now to beat Luke Stoltman's 19 metres 60.
That's amazing. I'm really glad to hear that. Actually, yeah, that's cool.
And to give you an idea of where I'm at, I've done about 6 weeks training on them. Okay. But only 2 weeks ago, I decided to go for the full weight for the first time. Okay. And I got to 17 metres, which I was chuffed at, you know.
Wow.
So it's more about, for me, it's more about sort of training the pain game, if you know what I mean, rather than the actual walking with the stones, so to speak. But, you know, there's going to be loads of guys that are going for that record. And I'm not going for a record. I'm just wanting to beat, I've set my mind to beat 19 metres 60, and if anybody else beats it, then all the best to them. I'll be the first to shake their hand. Absolutely. I'm not interested in a sort of world record, so to speak. I'm just wanting to beat. I've set my mind. When I set my mind on something, that's what it's going to happen. So
You know what?
that's what I'm with them.
I think if you don't have that end game in sight, I mean, I'm not saying what's the point in training, but I mean, it certainly makes a massive difference to your focus.
Well, we all need goals.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And every year I set myself 9 or 10 different goals. Just like some sort of relatively easily achievable, some sort of medium, and some that I'm never going to get.
I remember you set the goal of being as cool as me, and that's never going to happen. Like,
what's that? Sorry,
I remember you set the goal of being as cool as me, and then that's just not going to happen.
Well, Stevie, I can't grow the hair, you see.
I'm going under here and here. No, listen, mate, that's absolutely amazing to hear that you're going for that record, because I've seen a lot of very, very big, strong, talented.
Thank you, Brett.
That's my dad as well. Hey. I wish you all the best for that, Jimmy, because I would love to see that. Anybody who can train
I just think you need to have goals. We all need to have goals. Without goals, you're not really pushing yourself. You're not really be training as hard as you could be,
Absolutely, yeah.
And after, I've now walked with Brett Stones, I think about half a dozen times at least. So I know what's involved, and I just thought, I can do that. I can do that. Yeah. When Luke done 19 metres, I thought, I can do that. I just need a bit of training, a bit of effort.
Yeah, it needs the belief and the training. Obviously, the beliefs mean it's part of it. It's not everything. Obviously, you need to do the training as well. But without the belief,
for me, it's how do I put it? I mean, when I watched Europe's Strongest Man, for example, and I saw how sort of hard it was for some of them.
Yeah.
I thought I was shocked, But it then brought back the memories of I remember my first attempt. I think I got about 4 or 5 metres or something.
There you go, yeah.
It was at the Stones of Strength final,
That's right.
And, it was a disaster. Because I
was
about 15 minutes in training.
Yeah.
But
how many of us go out and pick up a stone for the first time and nail the technique immediately? Very few, I would say.
I think that event particularly, it's good to get up there and practice with a real thing. It's all right having the pins and the rings and using the weight plates and that, but it's not really the same thing,
No.
It's not. It mimics it good enough to train for it, but I think you need to have that feeling of the stones turning and them knocking you in the legs and things like that,
Yeah. And the weird thing about Brett's walking stones is, with the Dinnies, obviously, if you're going to pick them up side by side and walk them, it's that big one stopping the momentum on the big stone. But with Brett's, obviously, I haven't experienced this because I can pick them up easy enough, but I can't. My feet are nailed to the ground, But Brett always says it's the wee stone that gives him all the trouble. So it is, gives all because it's banging off your knee.
The first time I used them was at the Stones of Strength final. And it was I only dropped them because the small stone is on a ring that turns.
Yeah.
The small stone can turn in your hand. And before I knew it, I was in an open hand situation.
Ooh.
My hand was open.
Yeah.
And the stone was turning out and it was pulling me out. And that's why I had to drop it. It wasn't the weight or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic event. It's really imaginative and it's fun. But it's extremely painful.
Oh yeah. You know what? If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, Jimmy.
This is it.
And I honestly think, with the likes of those stones of Brett's, I think that's. There's a lot's happened to date, but it's only really getting started. I think we're only getting started with stuff like that.
Well, what I think is, in terms of, when you look at Europe's Strongest Man, Brett Stones aside, look at the other events that they had in it. For the first time ever, they had an Atlas stone press.
That was a good watch, yeah.
They were using sort of old, I would say more old-fashioned style equipment and some things, And this kind of thing, I think, is going to start to come to the fore. More traditional. A bit like the Dinnie Games, for example, where it's just stones that are used. These kind of things, it's going to come to the fore, Well,
that was a conscious decision that we made. When Brett and I were talking about the games, we decided no metal, no barbells, nothing like that, all natural stones. We want to keep it that way. And what it does for us, I mean, obviously we don't want to do the same 4 or 5 events. It's going to be 5 events next time. We don't want to do the same 5 events every year. There will obviously be the popular ones that come back, like Atlas Stones and Strongman. But what we're trying to do is every year is trying to get something that's more nasty and more inventive, but obviously just including
I
stones,
get that.
you know?
There's just how do I put this? I think the fact that the Ardblair Stones aren't going to be involved is quite sad for me.
Okay, it is, yeah, because I mean, they were there at the start. I mean, it is.
In fact, I would go as far as to say it's disappointing, you know.
Yeah. Charlie's got a sponsorship now, and his sponsors obviously have a plan for him, so he's got it. But one of the things that I'm very grateful for, because when Charlie first agreed to get involved in it, and the Donald Dinnie Day before there was the games, you know, they were a great attraction, you know, and then they come back and they featured in the Donald Dinnie Games, and again, a great attraction. What a finisher for the show, you know. But now Charlie's, you know, he's moving on with his sponsor, and I'm delighted for him. So what we have to do in an event like that is actually to create something.
Yeah, I know.
At least, at least.
I get that. No, sorry, Stevie. I just wanted to mention it because I do think. I think I don't want to. I just think when your sponsorship gets involved, it's all very well and good that there's money coming into it, but it kind of moves away from its roots a wee bit. It's moving away from its roots, and that is what I don't like. But
well, I suppose if you look at it from the Donald Dinnie Games point of view,
the Ardblair Stones is still an event which I really enjoy, and I'm actually not bad at it. So I will be back to have another go at it.
Oh,
you know, I've got an unfinished business there too.
How many men have lifted all 9? There's not many of you.
I think there's about. Don't quote me on this, but I think there's about 10 now. I was number 5.
10's not a lot. Like when you think how many people have tried the Ardblair Stones, and only 10.
Yeah,
that's just how hard a challenge it is.
I'm trying to think when the first time I done all 9. The first time I done all 9 was indoor, actually, at Hostile Strength and Conditioning.
Yeah.
It was a winter. It was a December, and it was frozen, absolutely frozen. But yeah, I done all 9 that day, and I've kind of it's been an event that's quite close to my heart since then, really. Yeah,
no, I understand. Yeah, well, tell you what, wait till you see what we've got in store for you at the Donald Dinnie Games.
I've got a fair idea.
Well, trust me, it's not. We're not putting something in just to make up numbers. There's none of that. You know, there's some nasty stuff, and not only that. I mean, obviously with the Irish Games, I can't just replicate what we're doing in Scotland. You know, I have to try and think of other things there. So I'm going to bring them across and swap them over and stuff. So there's plenty more nasty things coming your way. I promise you that.
Oh, I'm sure about it.
Oh yeah, and the beauty about it is I don't have to do them. I can just think of them. You know.
Well,
to say for natural stone lifting, I think the future's very bright.
Oh, definitely. It's see the amount I get loads of messages, you know, on sort of Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
By guys just wanting to know, you know, how do I get to this stone, or you know, blah blah blah. I'm coming over from another country, and you know, and I keep saying, you know, I'm quite happy to take folk, you know, and you know, show them, do a stone tour with them.
But again, that's back to what we were talking about earlier, you know, about the brotherhood side of this, because I mean, I know Martin does the same, James Graham does the same, you're doing the same. You know, I mean, I think Levi has a map that you can buy, you know, shows you all the locations, you know. So it's great that everybody's helping everybody else to do this, and not kind of keep all the secrets to themselves, you know.
I think what it is you know, it's something that not very many people initially knew about, you know. They don't, still to this day. For example, I was up at Sheriff Muir yesterday.
I seen that.
And I took the dog, he lives up there, and I thought, right, I'm going to go for a wee lift of the stones. And when I got there, there was an old couple standing, walking their dog, and they were at the stones, and I walked up to them, and they're like, what, do you know what this is? And I said, I don't know. I explained about the history of the stones, and
nice.
And they only live just down the road, and they didn't even know about it, you know.
There you go, yeah. All right. Wow. We're just got asked a wee question. What's the date of the Donald Dinnie Games this year? Okay, well, obviously we're all dependent this year on the Aboyne Games. If the Aboyne Games go ahead, there's a good chance we'll be able to go ahead. It's normally the first Sunday of August every year, but that's because it's the day after the Aboyne Games, which are on the first Saturday. Now, the first Saturday this year is the 7th of August, so we're going to go on the 8th of August this year. And the Boeing
Okay.
Games.
Are you doing the Donald Dinnie Games? Did you say on the 8th of August?
On the 8th of August. So it's always going to be the day. The Boeing Games, you know, so it is. So because obviously with people coming from America and stuff, they kind of think, well, if they come over for our games, they've got the Boeing Games, and there's a whole flux of people come into that area, you know. So it's a big time for the area, and it expands the weekend for everybody, you know.
I've got a problem that weekend. Then.
Oh, okay. Really?
I'm competing in the UK Masters on the Saturday, and the UK Truck Pulling Championships on the Sunday.
The truck pulling championships are cancelled because I've just gone up and let all their tyres down.
Well, the thing is, I probably would rather. Well, I know I would rather do the Donald Dinnie Games, but after doing UK Masters, it's a big ask for an old guy.
Guys, listen, I remember whenever you did the Donald Dinnie Games the first time, not only did you compete in the games, but you also tried to press the Inverstone. Probably 3 times in the middle of the competition. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Don't you worry yourself.
Gordon Ingram, you were away doing the Saddling Mare today. Well done,
nice
old
yep.
Well done, old Jim.
All right, see us out, fellas. There's plenty of life left on us yet.
Aye, so, well, I'll just need to see how that one goes. Well,
Aye, that's okay.
I would rather do the Donald Dinnie Games, to be honest, but I'm still going to do UK Masters. I'll just be competing 2 days in a row. Say hello to Gail, Stevie.
That's right. Hi, Gail.
Hi.
What about you?
NHS hero just in for your 13-hour shift.
Oh, love it. Love it. We were right clapping for you. So we were.
Well,
I was clapping for you and her and abuse at Jamie.
what's that?
I was clapping for Gail and her and abuse at you.
Oh, that goes, you don't need to clap for that happens.
What about this new motorcycle you got? Have you been out on your motorbike? What's this new one?
No, not yet. Do we know yet?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It was just, well, I buy and sell bikes for a wee bit of cash, yeah.
Okay, that's why you have so many bikes.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know if I'm keeping it or not. I'm on the lookout for something else already.
You can't have mine.
I
mean, do you think is there much? When's your next comp? Is there any kind of idea of anything set in stone with competitions? Because
23rd of May. 23rd of May, I've got South Yorkshire Strongest Master.
Cool. Okay.
That's a comp that was supposed to happen October last year. That's been postponed, but It's looking like going ahead this time.
Oh, that's good. That's good news. I mean, as we see things opening up, I mean, it gives me more hope. You know that
I'll actually have about 8 comps this year, hopefully.
Right. Okay. Wow. We had competitions. That's a lot of competitions every year.
Obviously, that's dependent on shoulder surgery. I mean, that could happen tomorrow, or it could happen in 40 weeks. So, but I'm just going on the premise that, you know, I still want to compete until that happens. So we'll just be going. I've already got comps booked. Yeah. So I've got that one. I've got. I'll have the Scotland Strongest Man qualifier when it comes out.
Yeah.
I'll have the UK Masters, which is a qualifier for World Masters.
Oh wow.
I'll have the Donald Dinnie Games. I'll have Britain's Strongest Master later on in the year, and I'll have Stuart Murray's trying to run a Scotland Strongest Master as well.
That. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm going to be busy as ever.
Yeah, busy's good. I mean, the thing of it is, I mean, it's one thing Dad and I always said. I mean, enjoy it while you have it, because you know we have it's only Lent for a while. You know, because I mean, we all get older. It goes.
But the thing is, Stevie, I started strongman when I was 40. Wow. And I've done an average, of 10 competitions every year.
That's wow.
Until COVID struck, obviously. I only got one last year.
Yeah.
But,
what age are you now, Jimmy?
I'm 45 next week.
45 next week, yoo-hoo! I can't wait. That's sick. Oh, to be 45 again. I didn't start, I was 50, for goodness sake. You know, but it's one of those things that you start when you start and you make the most of it while you can, you know. Tell me this. There's only a few guys really that I know who've done all the stones. I mean, there's probably more that I haven't heard of.
I'll tell you right now, Stevie, there's nobody that's done all the stones.
Aye, all the stones, yeah, but you know what I mean. It has travelled extensively doing the stones. I mean, there's Martin yourself, Andy Kearney.
Well, there's guys like
an awful lot, you know.
Well, Martin Jannix and James Graham have done most of the stones.
Yes.
There's a couple that have no done. I'm in the same position.
Yes, you are.
But it's not. I don't view it as a race or anything like that. Anyway, it's not a competition. Stone lifting's not. It's not a competition for me.
Yeah.
That's why I've got my strongman. That's my competition. The stone lifting is just about. I do it for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And when I get them all done, I'll get them all done. I'm not bothered.
Yeah.
You know.
One of the things actually that inspired me to do the Donald Dinnie Games with natural stones, because you know there are so many of the historic stones out there, and I would hate them to be brought in as competition, because they're there. They've got their own history. They've got the way they're supposed to be lifted. You know, and I mean, for example, you've got the Inver stone. You know, so the Inver stone's wall at waist height or onto your shoulder. You can probably want to press it now, but to see that as part of a competition for me, you know, it's just not what the stone's about. So that's why we invented the Belogi stone. Same sort of weight, and it's a competition.
I've lifted it a few times.
Stone, that one actually.
No, well, the thing is, the Inver stone was originally used in a sort of Highland Games exhibition in Glasgow in competition, right. And that's what gave the sort of idea of an Atlas stone to Gregor Edmonds, not Gregor Edmonds, sorry, his dad, Dougie Edmonds, and then they come up with the McGlashan stones, you know.
The McGlashan stones, yeah.
And actually, it came from the Inver stone. It all came from the Inver stone.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I'm with you. They are historic in nature, therefore they're a bit of a historical artifact. So care needs to be taken. You don't want to see them being thrown about.
No, you don't. We've got a news for you actually on that. I mean, remember David Webster telling me the story about the Inver stone, you know, and all the stuff surrounding how Donald Dinnie got his name, and about the idea that him and Gregor Edmonds and all those guys got about actually using the Inver stone idea but creating their own version of it. So that's when the McGlashan stones came. So there were 5 of them onto a barrel at waist height to replicate the wall at waist height.
That's right, yeah.
At the Donald Dinnie Games this year, if we're allowed to go ahead, I've actually managed to track down the original McGlashan stones.
Yeah, I know you have, because I know where they are.
I am so excited about that, man, honestly, because you know what we're going to have in one place? We're going to have the history of the modern day Atlas stones in one place.
I was invited, just before COVID struck, I was invited down to lift them.
Brilliant.
And then COVID started.
Enough, yeah.
And that's not happened. So
no, but it's gonna. So it is. But can you imagine how big that's going to be for us at the Donald Dinnie Games to have the Inver stone and the original McGlashan stones in the one place?
Yeah,
that happened before. You know, I'm so excited.
It's very important to have that.
It is. Oh my goodness, yeah. I couldn't believe it.
They're both a real sort of important part of stone lifting history worldwide. Not just in Scotland.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, no. All over the world. I mean, McGlashan stones became the Atlas stones, you know, which are lifted all over the planet now.
Yeah.
So I just can't wait to see them all in one place, and, you know, we'll get a wee exhibition going with them and stuff, you know. I mean, I think you could probably press them all in between events.
Well, the thing is with the McGlashan stones is they're that smooth, they're like glass, eh?
Yeah.
And in the days that they were around, there was no such things as tacky.
Right.
And there was no such things as training them. They didn't have stones, you know. Yep. Guys didn't have stones to train with then, so they just went to comp and just lifted them any way they could. Yeah, so that's why when you watch it back and you think, oh, he's struggling with a 140 kilo stone or whatever, you know, you're like, guys are putting them up for fun now, you know.
Oh, they are, I know. The thing is, I mean,
a lot of it's down to evolution.
It is. Yeah.
A lot of it's down to the fact that you couldn't train with them, and there was no such thing as tacky, as I say.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the likes of that Mingus stone, you know, the Menzies or Mingus stone, whatever you want to pronounce it, you know, it's only 115 kilos, but I mean, it's as slippy as glass and one of the hardest, you know, to pick up. Particularly stone lifting, you know. So,
have you tried to lift it?
No, I haven't yet. No, I haven't really done much on the natural stuff. I had a go at the Saddle and Mare and I've managed to pick up the inverse stone. But obviously, the long-term plan is to get myself trained up and get out there and do a tour with you and Brett and all the guys out there, you know, Martin, Andy, everybody. I'd love to, you know.
Well, you're welcome to come along. It's just, you would love it. Some of the locations are out of this world, you know.
Yeah, it's the locations too and the history. One of the things, I don't know if I've told you yet, but I've managed to track down actually a first verifiable stone in Ireland that has a history. No, it is. I mean, I've had a lot of leads from the late Peter Martin, you know, and James has fired me a lot of stuff, James Graham, and I've followed them all up as far as I can go with them, but I've always hit like a dead end. So you've been in the area, or you've gone to the farm, but the stone's not there, or you've gone to the area, but nobody knows anything about it. But there's stones on the Aran Islands, just off the coast of Ireland and near Galway. And they have the light ones that sit outside the school for the youngers, and they have the heavier ones for the olders. And really, the competition, I was talking to one of the guys on the island, and he said that the competition there, it wasn't about waist height or shoulder. It said, lift it as high as you can. So whoever got it the highest, you know, that was the challenge on it. So because it wasn't like an individual went along like a manhood thing. It was just a bunch of guys, had a few beers. Yeah. You lift it the highest, you know.
But see when you're talking historically, Stevie, that's what it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, it just used to be clansmen sitting around, you know, a fire, playing games with stones, was some of the things they did when they're drinking their whiskey and their drams and all that. Listen, I'm going to answer a question. Well, wait a minute.
Yep.
Jamie Duncan's message saying he doesn't like tacky, and Brett, yeah, but tacky is shit. We don't use tacky, right? Let me tell you something. Guys. If you're competing in a competition and everybody else is using tacky, then you're using tacky. Trust me, if you want to win.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
What's that? Yeah, I mean, it's not natural stone, but it is. It's a legitimate form of competition, yeah.
Like I say, if I'm in a competition in the last, you know, it's an Atlas stone run up to 180 kilos or whatever, I'll be using tacky because everybody else will be using tacky. And if you want to know what come last, you'll be using tacky. So you need to do what you need to do. Yeah?
I think when you're in competition, I mean, one of the first things, it's a very similar story. It's not about tacky, but it's a similar principle. I remember the very first time I seen Halfthor at the World's Strongest Man. I can't remember what year it was. It was probably in around 2014, 2015 or thereabouts. And I mean, he was miles ahead of everybody. You know, he ended up losing it by half a point. Right. And he came 7th in the squat. And we didn't wear a suit. Everybody else wore a suit, and he was the only one that didn't. He came 7th. If he had come 6th, he'd have won 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. You know, so I remember thinking to myself, you got to do what you got to do. When it's competition, everybody else is doing it. Do it.
Well, absolutely, Stevie. Absolutely. It's in competition. It's the 1% that make the difference. If you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
It's the wee things that you can do to make it 1% better. That's going to make all the difference. It's going to separate you in the end. That's the way I feel about it.
Absolutely. Obviously, I mean, when it comes to lifting natural stones, nobody wants to use tacky, but when it's in competition, you have to.
I would never use tacky on a natural stone.
Yeah.
Never. That's just a no-no.
Yeah.
But in terms of Atlas stone training, I'll use it.
Yeah. Oh, why? Because you're going to lift heavier stones. Yeah.
Because, for example, if without tacky, all I can lift is a 150, right?
Aye. Okay.
With tacky, that then becomes a 180. So what's happening there is you're getting your biceps, your back, your quads used to that extra weight.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And you're never going to be able to do it without tacky. So you just need to do what you need.
Well, that's it. I mean, obviously, one of my favourite things is lifting as heavy as I can with my bare hands. You know, I mean, that's something I'm very passionate about. But there's times on the top where I stick the straps on and go as heavy as I get up around 400 kilos. You know,
there's more than definitely, in terms of training, Stevie, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Oh,
you know,
whatever
you need to, sometimes you need to, you would need to use straps to get your body used to lifting a heavier load than it's used to.
Yeah, well, of course.
You not only start to train your muscles, you start to train your CNS, and you know. There's benefits.
Tendons are a big thing, you know, when it comes to lifting heavyweight too. It's not just muscle. I think you need to have your tendon strength to to support everything underneath the muscle, you know.
Well, the thing about tendons is, as you weight train, your tendons don't necessarily get stronger. You know, it's just a sad. That's why a lot of strongmen will get, you know, bicep tendon tears. It's a common one. Pec tears, pec tendon tears, things like that. You know, I've had bicep tendon tears because you're moving such big loads or putting a lot of load through one small muscle group.
Yeah.
And you might have trained that muscle, you know, a lot, so it's competent.
Yeah.
But the tendon's always going to be, well, it's not always going to be, but it can be the weak part, you know.
Just one of those things, and it's like you say, when you watch some guys deadlifting, the tendon goes, and oh wow.
Yeah. I had my tendon go doing a free. It was Stuart Murray had. He's got these 300 kilo chains, you know, these ship anchor chain things,
yeah.
And he kept putting them in the qualifier, and it eventually tore my bicep off half off the bone. Yeah.
Oh man,
so
really?
So every time I look at it since, I can't do it.
Every time you walk past the chain, you go, whoa.
Horrible, man. Horrible.
Like the odd half, yeah. I was just thinking, we were just talking about all the different natural challenges in stones. There was one, remember, was James gave me a lead. It was up in Limavady, which was probably about 55, 60 miles away from me, and Big Brian Irwin and myself and Heather, we just took a day trip with the dog, and just in the area, just following up all the leads and seeing how close we could get to it. And one of the things about the stone that we're talking about, it was in a place, oh my goodness, what did you call the townland? Oh, jibbers, what a mental blank on it. But the stone, they described the stone as like the size of a beef splatter, like a cow splatter, so it can't be very big. But they said it was very black and dense, and very shiny and slippy. It was taken out of the River Fawn. Banagher, what you call the parish, I think. But the challenge was, it was the O'Kanes up there. The O'Kanes, they own everything in that area. So it's a big family, you know, big farming family. They do the O'Kanes chickens and all that. But apparently on the O'Kane farm, all the young fellas used to come up and try and lift this stone, and very few of them could actually lift it. I think it sounds to me as like about in and around 80 kilos, but super slippy. But they had to actually pull it off the back of their shoulder. That was the challenge. So it's all these variations. You know,
who made that? Who made that the challenge?
It was actually recorded in the Ordnance Survey memoirs from 1854, I think it was, in around Dinnie's time.
Right.
But apparently that was the challenge of it. It's actually recorded in the Ordnance Survey memoirs. I read the story, you know, and it talks about the parish and about the young men on the O'Kane farm, and it describes the stone. It's a very in-depth thing. I'll send you a copy of the transcript.
Right, how interesting is that?
We got to the farm, and we were talking to the grandson, and the grandfather was very unwell that day, you know, and Luke said, look, if you could ask him, is it still on the farm? Does he know anything about it? Because we would love to uncover it, even just to take photographs, you know, to kind of say, look, there it actually exists. This is the story. This is the reality. But we never come back to it. I think I will follow it up again, because I know exactly the road and everything is now, you know, so it's one of those ones. But that's the way they recorded the story. They actually would have got the shoulder, threw it off the back.
Yeah. In terms of Scottish history, in terms of stone, the actual lifts, it was never a thing to put a stone. There's nowhere that it's recorded that you put stones on your shoulder.
No, I've never seen that.
It was always a lift. Ultach, they call it an ultach lift, onto the lap, and then standing up to chest height was lift.
Yes.
Was an acceptable lift. Another acceptable lift would be, again, ultach style lift onto the lap, standing up and putting it on something like a plinth or a dike. Yeah, and the third style of lifting was generally, which I've done at Sheriff Muir now, is set it back to the way it was, is lifting the stone and throwing it over the plinth stone.
Okay.
Or in some cases, a horse's back.
Okay. Well, I suppose we looked at the modern Aquastone challenge over the bar, where they lift it and throw it over the bar, and then it comes back in.
They called it stone putting.
Stone putting.
But that is a tradition that's not it doesn't even happen today. Obviously, you don't want to be throwing historic stones about, and I have to say that.
Yeah, no,
If
no,
you're
of
going to
course.
watch
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stones,
Yeah, we
do
don't see
not
them getting
go.
broken. Yeah.
But that's why we've sourced sort of stones that are not historic in nature for Sheriff Muir, so you can, well, effectively go and do it if you want.
Aye, happy days. Yeah.
And
And
it's
the thing
harder.
about it is,
It's actually harder than you might imagine.
yeah. Well, the thing about it is, Jamie, if you imagine there's you guys gathering stones to that area to do that, history has to start somewhere. So in 100 years' time,
Well, the thing is with Sheriff Muir, Stevie, right? It's the site of the Wallace Putton Stone, right?
Yeah.
And the Wallace Putton Stone was obviously there.
Aye. Okay.
But we all know the story. It got broken. Blah blah blah. However, the plinth stone was still there.
Right. Okay.
Which is a 300 kilo stone lying on its side.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So I went up there with a shovel 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I've seen this. I've seen that post. Yeah.
And I decided I was going to put it back to the way it should be. And
Okay.
that was some effort trying to get that on its end, I'll tell you.
I can imagine.
And I think it looks the way it should, in my opinion, because it used to be. I put it back to the way it should be.
Aye, I've seen the photograph. It looked amazing. It looked absolutely fantastic.
It's an interesting wee challenge, I have to say.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
and
sure.
You've got that one is obviously I've dug it into the ground. It's sitting there. It's a small plinth, but it's quite a challenge to put. Yeah, the big rusty I call the big one.
Okay, wow.
To put that on there is quite a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Oh, aye.
The original Wallace Putton Stone was running about the same weight as that before a bit got broken off it.
What was it, about 130?
Well, in modern times, it was 130 odd kilos, 127. But about 200 years ago, there was a bit cut out it.
Okay, yes, I remember reading about that.
They reckoned it was a bullet-shaped stone, about 160 kilos was its original weight.
160 kilo stone, wow.
Well, there was a local stonemason couldn't lift it, so he decided to break a bit off it. And
really?
And he effectively ruined it, because there was then what do you call it, cracks along its surface that you could see, and it was visible. But I'm happy that I got to lift it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Because I remember guys going up to lift it, and that's
I do think it can be repaired.
Okay.
But I've spoken to James Graham and Martin about this in the past, but it's finding somebody to attempt it. Because as soon as they find out that it's a historical artifact, they're like,
Yeah.
It could possibly be repaired with resin and pins.
I think you'd have to pin it in some way.
But at the end of the day, it would break again. But
it's only
in my opinion, it's better to try it.
Oh, of course,
than just have it sitting in a garage somewhere, which it is.
If it can be fixed, great. If not, sure, at least you tried. We always look back and say we gave it our best shot,
I mean, at the end of the day, Stevie, we've all dropped stones.
Of course, everybody does it, yeah. I mean, sometimes
I've done it, and I've fell over with them, I've dropped them.
Yeah.
But I try to be as careful now as I can with them.
I mean, obviously, if the stone's too heavy for you and it falls out of your hands, there's nothing you can do about that. But I think it's having the respect to try and respect the stone. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a natural stone. You're probably, a lot of people are at the maximum of their strength. So if something happens, it's like with the Dinnies. I see a lot of people with the Dinnies and their hands just open and they drop. They're not just falling out of their hands,
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you drop the Dinnies, you're only dropping them 3 inches.
Well, that's it, exactly. Yeah, you're not dropping from up here, Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
I actually think, right, Stevie, it's quite sad that you're not allowed to lift the Dinnies Ultash style, one at a time, into the fold of the lamp and stand up with it.
Yeah.
That would be the way I would be lifting them, if I could.
Yeah. Lift the 180 just onto the wall. Because, I mean, part of the history of that, right, is that Donald Dinnie's dad would have lifted it over the bridge.
Yeah, I know that.
In the recess, you know. So I get it that's, you know, I mean,
I just think it's pretty sad, you know. But it is what it is.
well, it is, but it's like it is. I suppose with any of these stones, you know, I mean, nobody owns them. I've
Well, this
always
is it.
said
Huh?
nobody owns these stones. These stones are for everybody, you know, and that's why Brett and I and James Blaine, that's why we all got involved with the Dinnies, because I mean they were very hard to get at, you know, and it's not that anybody was doing anything wrong. It was just they were trying to protect them, and I get that. So what we've done now is make them accessible, you know, under control, I suppose, is the best way I can do it. You know, we're controlled, not just for the stones, but for the lifters as well. You know, for guys coming along with them, guys hurting themselves and stuff. But you know, I think the stones are in a pretty good place. You know, there's a bit more. I mean, personally, if I had complete control of them, it would be different.
Yeah.
You know, that's I suppose as best I can do. But the good thing is there's about 12 or 13 of us involved, you know, in the Donald Dinnie Games committee gathering day thing. You know, so I mean, it's not any one person's opinion, which I like, you know, because I don't want to be making decisions that people are going to say, well, he's doing that for his own benefit or something. At least we have a consensus of opinion and something, and we discuss it a lot, you know, and not everybody agrees and stuff, which is good too, you know.
Well, you're never going to get everybody to agree anyway.
It's never going to happen. You know, but I think for me, I mean, getting involved with the Dinnies and the Donald Dinnie Games, I think to me it's about an inclusive thing. It's getting people involved. People are going to have a go, you know. It's not like, no, you can't see these, or you can't get at those, or these are locked up. You know, I think I just want it to be the opposite.
I think the Donald Dinnie Games was a great idea. I really do. And, you know, it was one of the days where, well, in terms of my performance, actually, although I won it, I didn't actually perform very well, believe it or not. I was disappointed with a couple of events.
You only had 4 events, you know. I mean,
I know it was 4 events, but I thought I had a poor walk with the knuckles.
Yeah.
And I couldn't finish the Blair stones. My bicep tendons were fried. I just couldn't do it. And I had a poor performance, but I managed somehow to win. You know?
Because I mean, it's not that you were against a weak field. I mean, that was a really strong field that we had that day. You know,
for me, it was the first time and probably the only time I got to compete with Andy Kearney, who's obviously a massive influence in terms of stone lifting and strongman.
Yeah, of course.
So that was something, I have to say. And also it was good to compete against Big Nelly as well from the Highland Game Circuit. You know, just a great guy. You know, and you know, I was disappointed. It was only 4 events, if I'm honest, because I'm used to doing 6 events.
And but one of the things that I mean, from Brett and I mean, it was our first time to training like this. You know, I mean, I've about 100 years, obviously, of putting events on with music, but it was the first time I'd done anything of this nature. You know, and there was a lot we got right, but there was a few things that not say we got them wrong, but we could do better.
There was only one thing you got wrong, Stevie, but we all know what that was.
But you know what? You see, the next time round, we've added another event in.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've got a good, strong field for next time round. You know, so I mean, it's going to grow and it's going to get better, and we're going to get better at doing it. You know, and stuff like that. You know, because I mean,
Brett.
Hi, cheers, Brett.
It was a great day. It was.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark. How you doing? But no, it was great to come actually compete against Mark there as well.
Yeah, some fun. I was very proud, you know, of the quality of the field.
Yeah, I think it was good, but a wee learning curve, I think, and one of the events, we'll say.
Well, yeah, you know what, and I mean, I fixed that.
Well, the thing is about that, Stevie, I'm not going to go into that. It ruined. Well, how do I put this?
I don't think so. No.
A couple of guys that it ruined their day for them.
Yeah, I know, and that's one of the things. That's what it is.
For me, I just thought, well, it's just one event. I've got 3 more to go. You know.
No big deal. You know, nobody died. You know, when it was,
but it was interesting. It was interesting that I managed to win that competition because I didn't think I performed very well, if I'm honest.
I mean, first place, there was one. Second place was 1 point behind you. Third place,
points in it here and there.
I think fourth place was Mark, and it was only another point. So you know,
well, all I knew is going into the Ardblower Stones, the last event, I had to beat Mark Haydock. That was it. That was all I knew.
Yeah.
If I beat him, I was winning it. Wow. So I only just managed to get the 8 stone up, which was enough to take.
It's not an easy thing to beat. I tell you that. Not that I know, not that I've ever beat him in any, but you know, he's a hell of a competitor. You know.
Oh, he is indeed.
Yes, yeah. No, but, you know, I mean, it's a pity that COVID kicked him when it did, because obviously we'd have had another Dinnie Games behind us last year. We'd be looking forward to the third this year, you know. So who knows where we'd be now if we'd have got those 2 games behind us, you know. But just keep trying to grow it. I mean, we only have what we have to work with, and I mean, for me, it's every year is trying to make it better and bigger, harder. You know, I mean, I think we're gonna get started.
Oh, I think it's,
you know, and
you know, it's refreshing to compete in something different, something that's traditional, and well, I suppose old-fashioned would be a good word in terms of the events and things like that. I like that, you know, I like that type of thing.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, one of the things I remember thinking about before we actually ran the first event is, what if you could go back, you know, if you got a wee time machine, you turn the clock back 300 years and you put these events on, they wouldn't be out of place.
No, they wouldn't.
You know, that's one of the things I like about it, you know.
No, they wouldn't.
You know, nobody would come along and say, what's that? You know. No. What it is. I mean, there's a great event we've got this year. It's called the Sword and the Stone. But I've got Claymore sword into the ground, a stone out here, and you hold it 6 inches above the claymore. The minute you touch the pommel, your time's up. You know, it's obviously it's a take on what they do with the 56ers and that, you know, but it's you know, there's so many nasty ideas I have kind of floating around in here. Well, you know, it's just, you know, it's obviously putting them on paper, and then obviously, I mean, Brett is the man that makes it all happen, because he's the one that provides the stones for us to do all these things, you know. Yeah,
well, we need to mention Brett again. You know, what he does for the Dinnies and what he's actually done in terms of lifting the Dinnies is actually, it's phenomenal, lifting them over 350 times, I think, or something like
that. 351, I think he's up to now.
It's just unbelievable, eh?
It is. It's brilliant.
But he's just such a genuine, nice guy. Would help everybody out with regards to anything in the stones, you know.
Yeah. But then if you think back to my dad's time, you know, it was all brand new. There you have the likes of Jim Splain, you know, and it was all brand new. And Jim recorded well over 65 lifts off me. He said he probably actually done closer to 100 in his time, you know, which is amazing. I mean, Jim would have driven past him just like.
Oh, he's frozen.
No, are you frozen?
You're frozen, Steve.
No, I'm okay, my end. Just saying about Jim Splain, you know, doing them what Brett's doing now. He would have just driven past them and picked them up. And
well, the thing that Brett, well, obviously the thing that Brett's got in his favour is the fact that they're on his doorstep. If I lived there, Stevie, if I lived there, I would have lifted them 300 times as well.
I used to say that about my dad. You know, I mean, if Dad lived in Patark, he would have done a lot more, because he was lifting his big shank stones 3 times a week. So he was, you know, at 360 odd kilos, you know. So yeah, I mean, but it is a great. I love the fact that we have this great brotherhood, you know, that all hang out and, you know, we all work together for the same end.
The thing about the Dinnie stones for me was I lifted them, but like I said, I was training for. Well, I was doing 10 comps that year, so I didn't really have time to train them. However, I trained them for 3 weeks, 6 sessions. That's all I trained them, and then I went and lifted them.
There you go.
But that was the first day I met Brett. And he was, you know, I was obviously quite nervous because they're quite intimidating when you see them. You know, I'm thinking, oh my God, look at the size of that. And I'm not a very good deadlifter. or trap bar lifter or side-by-side lifter.
Right.
So I thought, right, the only way I'm going to be able to lift these with 3 weeks training is straddle it.
Yeah.
You know, but Brett helped me out, and he was showing me, the best ways to put the stone, that kind of thing. And I'd never used hook grip, but I used hook grip. Obviously, he showed me how to do that and then.
Yep.
But I just lifted them.
Right.
But I was ecstatic, I was ecstatic because I was nervous in case they weren't going to budge.
I remember. Because the thing was, whenever anybody does the Dinnies for the first time and you stand over them for the first time, it is intimidating.
It wasn't even standing over them, Stevie. It was when I saw them sitting there.
There you go, yeah. Exactly.
Oh, they're bigger than I envisaged,
I wasn't there when my dad did them, but I was there in around the year 2000. I was over in Scotland with the band. We were doing some gigs up and around Aberdeen. And I remember the next morning, everybody else in the band was down with a hangover, but me and one of the roadies said, "Come on, we'll just take the car and we'll head down and see the dead," because I'd always wanted to see them, So that was over 20 years ago, and I went down to see them, and I remember thinking, "Good grief, how does anybody?" I was like 9 stone soaking wet back then, It was, but the first time that I went to lift them was 2015, and it was a Boyne Green because the Pothart Hotel was still being refurbished. So the Highland Games guys brought them down for us under the green there at the Boyne. They brought them in a forklift. I have a rock, you're kidding me. You need a forklift to bring these things in. That wasn't good for my mindset, I have to say, before I lifted these things. But then afterwards I was thinking, me and the forklift both lifted those today. It was,
See, with regards to the Dinnies as well, a point that I think I need to mention is what Mark Haydock said last week.
Yeah.
He mentioned that there's something special about the place.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And for me, it's when you turn off the road and you're going up over the Cairnlow Mount.
Yeah.
That's when it starts for me. There's something special about it up there, and you get a feeling.
I've always said, whenever you fly into Aberdeen, I always say I have to fly in there coming from Belfast, and we used to go in there. So we would hire the car at the airport, and you come out a couple of roundabouts, and then you go into like a dual carriageway heading out of Aberdeen.
Right.
And then halfway up the carriageway, about maybe 800 or 900 yards, you turn left. Okay, but you go from a big giant modern dual carriageway into like a wee single track B road with all the trees and stuff. So it's almost like I call it Brigadoon. It's just like the minute you go in there, and I feel the magic from there. You're only 23 miles from Patark at that point, but it's just like going into Brigadoon,
Well, I just thought I'd never actually heard of Patark before the Dinnies, and I'd never been to Royal Deeside either.
Right, okay.
It's one of the only places I'd never been in Scotland,
Okay.
Point of fact. But
Magic Mark.
Yeah, when I was driving up over the Cairnlow Mount, it gives me a buzz every time.
Oh yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
And sort of there's, in terms of the other natural historic stones, some of the locations are what makes it, rather than the stones as such.
Yeah. I think. Obviously, with me. I was 8. I'm almost 58 now, so it's like 50 years for me. Of knowing about these stones and the history and reading about them and being interested and spending a lot of time talking about my dad and what my dad did and to finally be involved in it. I think that level of magic for me, it would be hard for me to replicate that with another stone. But having said that, I remember I was out with Charlie one day and he took me up to the Saddle of Mare. And you just, that's when the trees were all still there and stuff. We just drove along and obviously just pulled into the side of the road and I'm like, well, stopping for a pee or what, And he said, no, you could just see in amongst the trees, the big plinth and the stone. Wow! You would never even know. I got a real sense of, and do you know what happened that day? We're actually, we used to pull on the side of the road, you walked over the wee bank and then down in amongst the trees. I kicked something. And it was just a wee stone about the size of your hand, not the biggest stone, but it was exactly the same shape, as close as you could get to the big Dinnie stone. I couldn't believe it.
Did you steal it?
I did, of course I did.
Well, don't tell everybody. Stevie, don't tell anybody, but see every...
I haven't, it's a good story.
See, well, don't tell anybody, but see every location I go to, I pinch a wee stone.
I'm not telling anybody if you don't. Your secret's safe from me, brother. I'll take it to the grave.
Don't tell anybody, Stevie.
But you know what I did? I brought it home, and then I went down along the Bangor coast in Northern Ireland, down to a place called Hollywood. And
Right.
I searched and searched and searched, and I found a wee stone that was very similar to the wee Dinnie stone.
All
So I
right.
brought them home, drilled them, put wee rings in them.
That's
Put
quality.
them on a plinth. So one from Scotland, one from Ireland. You
Right.
know, very clever.
Is that going to be my trophy for the next Donald Dinnie Games?
Late, David Webster's already got them. I think he'd have a hard job prying them out of him, tell you, because he really liked them, you know. But it was just a wee thing from Dad and I, you know, just a wee thank you for what he's done.
That's nice. That's cool.
But it was the fact that I was just walking down, and I was just looking at the Saddle of Mer stone and the plinth, and I kicked this thing, and I looked down, and it was honestly, you couldn't have written the script. It was just that weird. It was shaped in the triangle shape like the big Dinnie. Couldn't
That's
believe
cool.
it. It's very cool.
See, when we're on the subject of locations,
Yes.
I wanted to talk about North Eust.
Yes.
Yes.
Peter and Martin talked about that a lot.
Obviously, I went there last year, but I was only there for one night, and I didn't have enough time to sort of. Basically, we've got friends that stay in South Eust, which is it's the Long Island they call it, so it was about a 50-mile drive, wasn't it? So I came off the ferry, tried to find the 3 big stones and lift them in quick succession, and then boom, down to Fiona's house.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have the time to give the stones the respect they deserve.
Yeah.
So, but I just wanted to talk about that in terms of the place, in terms of Scottish stone lifting history.
Yeah.
Where would I start? Right. We all know about the mainland stones. You know,
Yes.
A lot of guys know about the Ardvorlich stone, the Menzies stone, the Fianna, blah, blah, blah. But nobody really knows about the Eust stones.
Yeah,
And
I remember Peter Martin about them a wee bit, but there wouldn't be the most...
Yeah, Peter Martin done a lot of research into Eust. And before the Highland clearances, Eust was a hotbed for Scottish stone lifting.
Right.
And it had about 25 sort of recognised lifting stones, of which only 3 remain.
Oh, wow.
I call them, well, it's not that they remain, they'll all be there, but the knowledge has been lost.
Yeah, that's a shame.
You know what I'm saying? It is a shame, because in terms of size of the stones there, they're the biggest sort of natural stone lifts in Scotland by a considerable margin, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
The 3 that are left. You're talking about, you know, the weighted burden of Morrison's in excess of 180 kilograms anyway.
Really?
You're talking about Ultak Alistair Matheson's stone is again about 185 kilos, I would reckon, at least. And then there's Big Donald, which is 200, reckoned to be.
Really?
You know, so these are the big stones.
Yeah.
And for me, when I went, I wanted to go there because I don't know. I don't need to sound dramatic, but it felt a bit like a stone lift, a bit like a pilgrimage of sorts.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and I feel that way. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I feel that way when I go to Port. Every time I go to Portarch.
Yeah, I understand.
You know?
Yeah.
But the beauty of Eust alone and the locations, it was just take your breath away.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And it's still a place that's relatively untouched in terms of modern sort of living, if you like. Or
Well, it's
modern,
still very much a Gaelic culture there, isn't it?
yeah, well, it was all Gaels there. But that you can just, there's some, I guess what I'm trying to say is only the most passionate of stone lifters will go there, and they should.
Yeah, I think
They
it's
have to.
Yeah.
Even if you're not capable of lifting them, just go to experience it.
There's
nowhere like it, Stevie.
I don't understand, mate. I think I might be able to flip them.
Well, if that's what you can do, it still take require a massive effort.
I'll tell
But
you
yeah,
something.
I'm hoping to go back this year
Oh,
in the
man.
summer, and spend a bit of time there this time, so I can actually get good, proper lifts in and do myself justice.
Look forward to seeing that, bro. Yeah.
Although I managed to lift them and get the wind beneath them, I don't feel that I didn't have enough time. I just didn't have enough time to learn the stones.
Understood, yeah.
And that was it. But I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I got it.
Well, it's lit the fire now, hasn't it, really?
I'll be back. I'm going back.
Yeah.
I'm going back. As soon as lockdown restrict, well, not as soon as, but hopefully in the summer, I'll be back there.
I have a really nice story about
Sorry?
I have a really nice story about Northeast, and it's before Peter Martin died. Peter Martin died 1 week before I first lifted the Dinnie stones, and him and I have been talking quite a bit, leading up to that. And him and Dad would speak, because he was a policeman. My dad was a policeman. They used to talk together quite a lot, So I was really looking forward to it. I've never met him, but I'd spoken to him tons on the phone. And he used to tell me about. He used to write a lot about it as well, about going up to Northeast. And he said the people there, that they would be, if you're there looking at the stones, obviously if you were passionate about the stones and you were genuine, they would welcome you in, but they wouldn't be quite so welcoming if they didn't think that you were going to respect the stones and stuff. So yeah. Peter got into their houses, he spoke to a lot of the residents around there, the locals.
Yeah, I spoke to James Graham about this, yeah. And I told him that I was speaking to locals when I was there, and they helped me find a lost stone, Ultak Alistair Moore was lost, had been buried, but I managed to find it with the help of some locals.
That's cool.
James Graham was saying that I was probably one of the first sort of mainland guys to speak to the locals, and because Peter Martin used to do the same. I'd never met Peter Martin, obviously, but that saddens me. But what it is. Can I just add, I'm going to answer a question from Mark Haydock.
Go for it. Yes.
Is it true that you're not allowed to lift the stones on the Sundays at Eust? Yes, that is true. That is definitely true. It's very... Sorry, Alexa, switch off. It's not... I don't even think that's just indicative of Eust. I think that's in the mainland in certain stones. In history, it was the stone lifting wasn't allowed on a Sunday, on the day of the Sabbath.
Yeah. One of the things that I heard, actually, I'll just finish that Peter Martin story. He was saying he was in one of the houses, and they brought him in, and they were chatting about the stones. And he said on the mantelpiece, just above the mantelpiece on the wall, there was a picture of my dad.
Yeah?
Yeah, that completely blew me away. I remember telling Dad about it. He was really good. They actually, because of, obviously they're into the strength culture and all that sort of stuff. I just thought that was lovely.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah, I kind of Peter Martin, the work that he's done for the Scottish Stones is unrivaled. Yes. And I don't feel it's recognised enough.
I know. Well, I think, obviously, James is continuing to work and put that out there.
James,
and I think with
the website, and he's done a fabulous job. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's where do we go from here? Kind of thing.
Well, this is it. I think if you look at what James is doing, what Martin's doing, what you're doing, what Andy Kearney's doing, what Brett's doing, what Mark Haydock's doing, what we're all doing together. It all comes to actually growing the thing. There's no one person's just pushing it in one way. I think when you look at the combination of what we're all doing together, I think it's a great team effort. If it wasn't for guys like you, and everybody else who's out there actually doing the lifting as well, it's okay for me, to put things on, but without guys like you to compete in the games, there's no point. You know what I mean? So it's the fact that there's such an appetite for that out there. And one of the things that you say is about the magic that you feel. And Brett is probably better fixed to tell you this than anybody, is when you see somebody turning up at the Dinnies for the first time, because I've seen it loads now, and you can just see how much it means to them, to come and look at something so historic that loads of people have put their hands on over the years, mostly failed, or some have succeeded. And that's just not the Dinnies. You look at the Inverstone and all the other stones around there. not only
Well,
stories, but there's all the failures as well. So that it gets that kind of that history of it, you know.
for me, yeah, I know where you're coming from. See the I felt a bit like that in terms of I don't know if you've heard of the Strathmore of Durness stone.
No.
No. Well, it's the most northerly stone and probably the most remote stone in Scotland.
I remember you doing it, and I know the one you're talking about.
It's quite an expedition to get to,
Aye.
and that's why it's only been lifted sort of 5 times in modern history, since 1800 in fact, or 1800. Since the Highland clearances, it's only been lifted 5 times.
Wow.
And that, when we went, we were actually in John O'Groats, which is about an 80-mile drive.
That was my first dig in Scotland.
Was it? We were in John O'Groats and I was just like, Gail, you're not going to like this. We're going an 80-mile drive along the top of the country to go and find this stone.
Yeah.
And, there it was sitting. Just exactly what I said. And it was just,
wow.
The magic, I can only explain, the location was certainly, I've talked about location a lot, but that was probably one of the most remote, the most wild, the most kind of stunning locations I've ever lifted a stone in.
I can understand that. I remember, I can't remember what year it was that we went up there. It was probably about 20-something years ago that we travelled across. Aye, to play there. And coming up, once you kind of get up out of Inverness, and then you get up into the Highlands, you're driving for miles, and all you see is these big hairy cows. You see nothing for ages and ages. Here's an interesting point for you. You were talking about, Mark's question about lifting on a Sunday. I remember Peter Martin telling me, if you look, a lot of these stones are found in churchyards. And one of the things, I'm not sure if it's a theory or if it's a fact, but what he said was whenever, the church service was over for the day, all the adults come out and would have talked about grown-up stuff. And a lot of the younger folk, who weren't doing that, would have went away and, because they were bored waiting for their parents, and they would have went away and tried to lift the stone. So that's probably why a lot of those stones were there,
I think, in days gone by, people were more religious,
Of course they were, yes, and more community as well. Yeah.
But the thing about the stones there's not really very many of the stones are actually in churches, Stevie.
Yeah.
You've got the bear van, but that was more of a punishment. That stone, but believe it or not.
It was, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, the blue, right, the only other one I can think of offhand is the Blue Stones of Old Daly.
Yeah, yes.
In Ayrshire.
Yeah.
They are a tragic tale of stones that have been locked up. Basically, they've got iron bars along the top of them to stop anybody lifting them.
I remember Cara Shaw tried something to be
Cara actually started a dialogue with the council about getting them, and they agreed to open them back up once the building is made safe. It's a ruin, a church ruin, so it needs to be made safe first. But last year, I took a drive down with my grandsons just for the day, and I found them, and what a stunning location, honestly. Yeah. And the stones themselves, they're literally blue in colour. That's why they get their name.
I was wondering where the blue thing came from, right, okay.
It's the colour of a kind of dark, kind of bluey, blacky, kind of tinge through them.
Very cool.
But I was trying to rip the bars off.
You should have brought a hacksaw with you.
Well, a crowbar. Next time I'm going down with a crowbar. Don't tell Andy, Stevie.
No, your secret here. I've got an angle grinder here you can borrow.
But I would love to lift them.
Yes.
That's the only other ones I can think of that are actually in a church.
Okay. I mean, obviously, when I first heard the story, the only thing I knew about them was the Dinnie stones, and you're just listening to stories that people tell you about stuff. So I suck all that in, but I remember it all. I don't forget stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one of the things I will say is, I think Peter Martin gave me about 5 leads for Ireland, because he was only starting to research Irish stones, but he was doing a lot of work to finish off in Scotland, and particularly in use. But
Can I just answer a question, Stevie?
Yes, go ahead. Of course, yeah.
From a Daniel O'Neill. He's asking why the stones were locked down. Talking about the blue stones of Old Daly.
Yes, yes.
They were locked down because it was believed that they were going to get stolen. Because it was believed at the time that they had, you'll laugh at this, that they had magical healing powers.
Why? Wow.
That was the old wives' tale, if you like, that they had magical healing powers, and the council believed that somebody was going to try and steal them. Wow. So they get locked in for that reason.
And I mean, they're literally.
I think they're officially called the blue charter stones of Old Daly.
Fantastic. But those stories are fascinating, you know, and there's so many of them, you know, and it's brilliant to hear stuff like that they had magic healing powers. And you know what? Who's to say they haven't?
Yeah. They could actually have they could actually send you to casualty. One of them looks that big.
Well, now you're talking. That's not healing. That's the opposite. Brilliant stuff. So, what's the plan? Are you going to continue going out for the rest of lockdown and just travelling around these stones? Well,
obviously, now that we've been in lockdown and I've only got a 5 mile radius, I've not been able to really go anywhere. Yeah. So I've just been doing. I'm fortunate that there's a few local stones, and the Sheriff Muir is only 20 minutes from my house, Stevie.
Oh, it's not so bad. Okay, cool.
What's that?
And a 20-minute drive to get to Sheriff Muir, then a 30-minute drive to Sheriff Muir to find the bloody stones.
I'm taking 45 minutes to drive 1 mile.
As soon as the restrictions ease, I'll be gathering the troops and we'll be going a stone lifting tour. That's what'll be happening.
Okay. Listen,
I've got plans for this year, Stevie.
Yeah.
I've got three more stones that I've not done.
Good.
And I'm going to get them done.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I'm also going to go back to Eust.
Good.
And I'm going to go to Iceland. I was meant to go to Iceland last year, but obviously that holiday got delayed.
Yeah.
So we're looking to book for end of August, sort of September time.
Happy days.
It's not ideal because the weather will have turned by then, and a fair old chance I'm going to be lifting stones in the rain, which I was hoping no, but I'm going anyway.
You lifted your first one on the ice.
I'm going to go anyway. Yeah, but these are a different kettle of fish.
You know, there's a thing. I just seen what Mark said about your knowledge of the stones, and he's right. You know, guys like you know, you need to write this down, Jamie. You need to get this down for the rest of us. You know, so it's always there.
Well, I've been putting posts. I've put posts on about every stone on my Facebook page. I've put them on the etched in stone. I've got them saved, you know. But I don't want to. It's not about just keep bombarding people with it, you know. If people want it, you know, anybody's welcome to ask me anything about the stones. If I don't know it, I'll find out.
But tell you what, I mean, you know what it's like. I mean, you've got Instagram and Facebook. It's disposable. You know, you go on and you pick a post and it's gone. You know, but I mean, for example, there's the likes of James's website, Martin's website, mine. You're very welcome. If you want to write those things down and give them to me, I'll put a post up for you. So it's on the Dinnie Stones website, wherever. Because I mean, I've done a lot of Peter Martin's articles. You know,
that's an excellent idea, Stevie. Yeah, by the way, I will do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, because I think those stories need to be there for people to see, you know, because I mean, who knows what happens, you know, with COVID and just with life, you know, and all that knowledge is in somebody's head and then it's gone, you know.
Well, the problem, that's been the problem with the stones in general. Lost history.
Lost history, mate, yeah.
With sort of, Scott's been notoriously bad for writing things down.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Over the years. And that means there's all those. I mean, what have we got? I don't know. I've never counted them, but let's say we've got 25 or 30 historic stones that we know of.
Yeah.
There's probably about 1,030 we don't know of, Stevie.
Of course there are. And I mean, The Irish, we're just as Celts as the Scottish are. I mean, we've got millions of these over here.
But you're absolutely right with something you said earlier, and I firmly believe this, right?
Mm.
As soon as you find a stone and you lift it, that stone's now got a history attached to it.
Yes, has to start somewhere.
And there's a couple of there's 3 or 4 local stones about here.
Yeah.
That there's been 3 or 4 guys that we've all lifted, and they've got their own history attached to them now.
Yeah.
You know, and I encourage people to do that.
Yes, you should. Yeah.
History, because for example, the Ardvorlich stone, or the Fianna stone, was lifted by somebody first.
It was, of course it was. Yeah, it became a story.
You know what I mean? Right? So how can you not start that with other stones?
Yeah. Well, here's a thing I'm going to throw at you, okay, and it's to put the thing in perspective for you. Okay, so Donald Dinnie, right about 1860, right, for the Dinnie stones, right? So my dad comes along in 1972, so it's just about 100 years later, okay? So 100 years, you think that's a hell of a long time, right? When I lifted the stones, it was almost 50 years after my dad did it. That 50 years for me is going like that. So 100 years, it's not, you know what I mean? So if you look at my dad's stones that he built to train for the Dinnies, he built those in February 70, because I actually turned them up one day to move them, and on the bottom, February 1972. Right. So looking at that, all of a sudden, my dad's stones have over 50 years history now, almost 50 years.
I've still to go there and lift them.
You have to. Mark and Brett are coming over, so I mean, you're welcome anytime, brother. They'll tell you what, they're a hell of a challenge.
Who? I've never heard of them.
Oh man, seriously, unbelievable.
Yeah, well, so that's what I've got planned in terms of stone lifting this year. I've got big plans.
Okay.
I've got one of the most remote and least lifted stones is the Glenlivet stone.
Right.
It's only ever been lifted by Martin Jannix and James Graham.
Oh wow, okay.
And they had to get a Land Rover. Sorry, the farmer that owns the land in Glenlivet drove them in 6 miles into his farmland to lift them.
Yeah.
But nobody else has lifted them because, well, it's private land and
nobody knows where they are really.
I've done a lot of research. I know exactly where it is.
Good man, happy days. Yeah, I think that's one of the ones.
I'm not going by Land Rover. I'm going by Shanks's pony.
Keep on yourself. Brilliant. That's unbelievable. No, it is. So, I want you to do me a favour, because I mean, I've had a couple of these, so I really need to go and take a peek. Can you please tell the guys the story about the Ardvorlich stone, because that seems to be a brand new kid in the block. No, it does.
I will do that, but I want to mention something first. In fact, you might want to hear this. I'll wait till you come back. I'll talk about the Ardvorlich stone.
Okay, go. You talk about that. I'll be back.
You know, hold your water, Stevie.
It's not like been on for an hour here.
All right, guys. With regards to the Ardvorlich stone, now, right, it's probably my favourite strength test in Scotland. Now, it's a stone which sits down at Ardvorlich House, or Ardvorlich Estate, just at the foot of Ben Vorlich, the Monroe. It's 152 kilos, and it sits in the shade all year round, so it's covered in algae, and it's very smooth. Now, there's only 2 men in history who have put it on their shoulder, and actually only one of them has had a proper hand-off shoulder where they've held it, and that's Janis Skidgens. Now, I'm mentioning Janis because, in fact, I'll come back to him later, but he was the first guy to have a proper hand-off shoulder of that stone. Andy Kearney was another guy that had it on his shoulder, but it rolled off before he could sort of stabilise it, if you like. And when I saw Andy Kearney do it, obviously Janis hadn't done it at that point, I thought, I can do that, I'm going to do that. But it didn't go to plan. And as such, I've actually lifted it 50 times off the ground now, and I've had it up to my chest, at the top of my chest, about I think it's about 16 times in my efforts to shoulder it, but I've just not been able to finish it off. No yet, anyway, but I will, because I'll keep going, and I'll keep going back, and I'll get there in the end. But it's a stone it's deceptively, when you walk up to it, you think that's not that big, but it's very dense, and it's very greasy, and kind of, it doesn't want to turn, it doesn't want to roll up your chest. It's just a nightmare. And even Yanis said it took him about 7 or 8 attempts to get it onto his shoulder, you know. But it's the biggest strength test in the mainland. It's not the heaviest stone, but it's the biggest strength test. Yeah, I would consider in terms of the historic lifting stones. Like I say, I will never stop trying. Actually, that stone had me in casualty.
Really?
I had that stone almost on my shoulder, and I thought, yes, this is it. And I stepped on the grass, and it was wet, and I hyperextended my knee, and down it went on my chest. Well, I managed to avoid my chest, and I was in hospital that night, thinking that I had torn my cruciate ligament. But thankfully, I just hyperextended my knee and stretched the tendons a wee bit. But yeah, that is an immense challenge.
Seems to be.
While I'm on the subject, I just want to mention two other stone lifters that I feel I need to mention. All right.
Yes. Go
I've
for
already
it.
mentioned one of them. One of them was Yanis, who I've mentioned. Now,
Absolutely.
for those of you who don't know who Yanis is, he's a powerlifter, I believe.
Yep.
And he's just recently started lifting the historic stones. But he's so powerful, it's frightening.
It is.
He's making all these stones look really small, really, and easy, apart from the abolish. But, you know, he's just one to watch. In terms of one to watch for the future, in terms of stone lifting, for me, he's one of them.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, he's been talking to me for quite a long time now.
He's so strong.
Yes.
You know, and he's put up all 9 of the Abler stones in, I think it's about 25 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I had a great competition with him at the Abler Stones one year. In fact, it was 2019. It was at the Alyth Games. So I'm there. I've done 8 of the stones in my warm up, and then I goes and does the 9 in something like 41 seconds, which was the fastest I'd ever done it at that point.
Oh, wow.
And then Yanis comes along, and he's out with the dogs and that, and he comes along, and he does it in something like, I think it was about 34 seconds or something like that. Yeah. And I went, no, I'm not having this. No way. So I went, at the time the record was 32 seconds by Kenny Sim.
Kenny Sim, that's right.
So I thought, right, no, I'm not having this. So I then went in and done it in 31 seconds. Brilliant. And I held the world record, and I thought, get it.
How long
and then
Yanis
came in. I held it for about 2 minutes. Yanis came in at the back of me and done it in 28 seconds, I think it was, or something like that.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I was like, ah!
Hey, my battery's getting low here. Hold on a second, I'm going to plug you in. Just keep talking, I'm listening. Just need to plug you in.
No worries. I don't even know what my battery's at. What's it, 42? I'm alright.
Oh, right, just going to put this here. I need to get my wee charger.
Jamie Duncan, I've no doubt in my mind that you will shoulder it. Ronnie, the lightest stone is actually the small Glen Quaich stone, which is just north of Braemar. That's 74 kilos. And then it's the Pewterach stone, which is down sort of Balquidder. That's 97 kilos or 94, I can't remember. Alright, so you can get them lifted, Ronnie.
Aye. Isn't the Pewterach stone, it's about 97 or something like that, isn't it?
It's either 97 or, I keep getting mixed up with that and the Saddle Mare. I think it's 97.
Aye, the Saddle Mare's 99, I think. It's just slightly under the 100.
Yeah.
And it is
the Saddle Mare's actually although it's nice setting and it's nice having the plinth stone or the reception stone.
Yeah.
But the actual lifting stone is a horrible stone.
That's
It's
the
really
one I
jaggy.
can't comment on.
It's really jaggy in a weird shape. It's a horrible stone. Yeah, Stevie, I just wanted to mention something, if that's all right.
Yes, of course, mate. Yes.
Right, it's a competition.
Yep.
That's been run by the Wounded Highlanders. Have you ever heard of the Wounded Highlanders?
I have. I mean, the guys contacted me a while. They sent me a nice T-shirt and stuff, So yeah,
Right. Well,
yeah.
I just want to mention they're running a competition. It's a virtual competition, and it's a worldwide competition, and it's in conjunction with Levi at Smash and Pass.
Yes, I seen that advertised the other day. Yes, 100%. Yes.
So just to let you know about the Wounded Highlanders, they started in 2019 after the May Highland Games. Is that Moy Highland Games? Aye.
Yeah.
Basically, one of the athletes, one of the vets, sorry, was up there and done the Abler Stones. I remember watching it at the time. All right. Now, basically, the guy, I can't remember his name, he started this sort of Wounded Highlanders group. It's for injured veterans,
Yeah.
and they've got they can have injuries from brain injuries to multiple limb loss and wheelchair-bound athletes. But, I think it's phenomenal what they do, I really do. And they've sent me some videos through of some of they're training for the Dinnie's example, Stevie.
They are. I know about it.
They've got a strap, for example. Obviously, guys not got a limb, maybe.
Yeah.
So they've got a strap around the stones and lifting it that way. It's phenomenal what they can achieve. Yeah.
I've come across the Highlanders, and Uncle Sam's Highlanders came to the Donald Dinnie Day one year, and then there's Gary Clark, what he's doing with Britain's strongest disabled, and then the whole disabled strongman community. I mean, it's amazing to see what's going on, because I mean the heart, because I've been there myself and I know what it's like to come from something that completely debilitates you. To try and build and work with what you have. And it impresses me so much, honestly. And
it's Jim.
Describe how much respect I have.
Yeah, the guy's name's Jim Holborn. He set it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to mention the actual details of the comp, if that's all right.
Let's go ahead, of course.
Yeah, it's called the Global Strength Virtual Event, and it's running on the 15th and 16th of May. The entry deadline is the 16th of April. And how you enter is you go onto Smash and Pass's website and buy one of the T-shirts. That's your entry cost. So you get the T-shirt, you'll get a certificate, and you'll get obviously the chance to get a top 3 trophy.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of any strength event, it can be anything you want.
Right.
It's a bit similar to the virtual Donald Dinnie Games of Life.
Yeah.
So anything can go in terms of strength. Obviously, points are awarded for imagination and things like that.
Yeah.
So I might have to dig out the gold hot pants again for that one.
My eyes were recovered from that last time you did that. Yeah, hadn't you? Right, that's it. I'm retired now officially. But you know what, Jamie, you got to have a bit of fun with this too. We'll work hard.
I find in terms of, for example, in strongman, people tend to take it too serious.
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons why I like going lifting the stones.
Yeah,
because it's fun.
Yeah. Of course, it's fun. But yeah.
Yeah, and strongman, it's all business and it's all serious, and that. But in terms of stones, it's a bit passion. It's a bit fun.
Aye. Well, the thing of it is, man, I'm a rock and roll drummer, so I'm always going to be about the fun. So I'm never going to lose that, definitely not. Yeah.
But
no, Jamie, I have absolutely loved chatting to you, brother. One of the things that I've really got out of tonight is your knowledge. I always kind of knew, but it's really dawned on me just to how much knowledge you've gathered, and it's not gathered from listening to things that you've read. It's actually gone out there and gathering information firsthand. And that is just that's so much respect.
Well, the funny thing is, at the end of the day, how I view the Stones as well. Another way I view it is it's a link to your history.
It is, of course, it is. Yeah.
And it fascinates me. For example, when you talk, let's talk about the Pewterach stone. You mentioned it, right?
Yep.
Now, the Pewterach stone is a McGregor stone.
Okay.
Right? Now, I am a McGregor.
Okay.
My mum was a McGregor. My granddad was a McGregor, and so forth.
Okay.
So, when I go there, it fascinates me to think, all right, the stone's not the original stone, but the plinth stone is.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, did Rob Roy, there's a fair chance that Rob Roy McGregor, for example, would have lifted a stone onto that plinth.
Yeah, he certainly put his hands on it anyway. Yeah.
And all his clansmen. So my bloodline, I'm thinking, it's been there. And it's things like that fascinate me a wee bit,
Well, me too. I mean, when you talk about bloodlines, obviously, we all know about my dad's history with the Stones. You know that each of the Highland Games has a clan behind the Highland Games. So the Aboyne Highland Games are the most closely associated games with the Dinnie Stones. And the clan that runs the Aboyne Games is the Gordon clan. Right. My mother's a Gordon.
Right.
So from my mother's side, I've got the Gordon connection with the Aboyne Games. From my dad's side, of the Dinnie Stones. I was never escaping this. I mean, talk about when I first realised that, I was like, flippin' heck. What are the chances of me escaping this?
I just mentioned this, Stevie.
Yes.
It's a post from the Wounded Highlanders, and it says, "We will have our single arm member walk Brett Stone's 30+ feet." I think that's amazing.
Do you know what? I can't wait to see that. And that will happen. I'm sure it will happen.
Me too.
Yeah. It's like you said at the start. I mean, if you picture yourself doing it and you've got confidence you're going to do it, then you're going to do it. You need to put the work in, but you need to have that starting point on any of these challenges for ourselves, Will do.
All right, Gordon Ingram, hiya. Just want to say hello.
Hey, dog's out. What about you?
And there's Marion.
I'm only joking.
There's Marion too.
Yep, Murray. God help you, Murray, having that man for a trainer. You have a hard little man. There you have.
What plans have you got, Stevie, in terms of lifting?
Do you know what? I mean, I had a massive year last year. I'm absolutely humongous year with some of the stuff that I'd done. I had set myself. Remember, one of the things that my dad would have done at home when he was training the weights was the elevated straddle, the Kennedy lift. And he lifted 970 pounds on it around about 1982. And I took the photograph that night. I still have the photo. And I just loved that lift. And then when we started training with the Dinnies, obviously you're standing at a similar straddle position. And I always kept coming back to the Kennedy lift, And I remember looking for it whenever I found the IAWA, looking for that lift. And it didn't exist in the IAWA, but I came across it in the USAWA. And the heaviest lift recorded in the USAWA was 755 pounds, which is about 342.5 kilos roughly. It is. And I remember thinking to myself, I can beat that. I can do more than that. Now, it's not to say anybody in America can't lift more than that, but that's the heaviest recorded. So I thought, you know what? And it wasn't just at my body weight, it was at any body weight, any age. It was literally the heaviest. So I set myself a challenge last year to do that. Now, I managed to lift 345, which is 760 pounds on it. But in training for that, I mean, I was lifting, on the trap bar 400 kilos on a reasonably regular basis, and all the stuff I did with the ring stones. So it's just such a heavy year. Actually, at the end of the year, I just felt busted. So it did. So I just said, I'm just taking a few months here.
Oh, you're not getting any younger. Let's be honest.
Well, you know what? I mean, all you young fellas running around there at 44 years of age, I'm flipping 60 in a couple of years. So, so I thought I'm just going to take a wee minute. And, with being at home with Heather and the doggy, and I've actually kind of refound my love for music. So I'm playing the drums. I mean, I've got the drum kit up here. I'm up here 2 hours a day, most days, you know, just playing again. So I'm going to focus now for a wee while, but one of the things I'd love to do, and it's a thing that kind of you and Brett have been kind of pushing me on, is a stone tour. You know, I mean, one of the things I did last year for the first time was I got these super slippy stones, I call them the
Flint stones.
Aye, and one of them is 100 kilos. You know, it is. And I managed to pick it up and get it up to chest height for the first time last year, you know, so I know if I work on it, I can get, I mean...
But see, the thing is, Stevie, right? See, the thing is, if you can lift a smooth atlas stone like that up to your chest,
yeah,
then there's at least 10 of the historic Scottish stones that you could lift now.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah, I know.
Without training.
Yeah,
you know.
So
the advice, I'll say to you what I say to Brett, right? I'll say to you what I've said to Brett. Just do it. Life's too short, naughty.
Yeah.
And you can come up with any excuse
for
you want, but just do it. Just get out there and you'll just, trust me when I say it, it'll get under your skin.
Oh, I know it will, yeah, I know it will. I know what I'm like when Tim catches me like that.
Last year, last year I done a few stone tours with Mark Sheriffs.
Mark's an amazing lifter. Now you talk about good stone lifter.
And
him and Jamie Duncan.
Mary came, and Mark's friend Graham Mustard. You know Graham?
Graham's a nice fella. Yep, met him a few times. Yeah.
So we done a few of these stone tours, and you know, it was just fabulous.
Aye.
Just great. Mark's come on leaps and bounds in terms of lifting, but he worries me sometimes.
Yeah. Well, he is an old fella like me, don't forget, you know. But
no, I've said to Brett, you know, we need to just need to get out and do them. There's no excuse. They're there.
Nobody's going to lift them for you.
Life's too short. I've always been of the sort of belief that life's too short, Stevie. See, if you want to do something, then just do it.
You know, grab by the Dinnies.
Exactly.
What I say. You know? Absolutely.
And Gordon Ingram there, he's another one that's supposed to come with us for the stone tour.
Another dark horse, yep.
So just get your fingers out, guys, and get prepared, because it's happening. Yep.
Just on, Gordon, if anybody's training for the Dinnies, or even for Brett Nichols' stones, you know, because there's a lot of guys training, but Gordon Ingram is making perfect training rings, and he's actually making Brett walking stones.
Yeah, I've already bought
stone rings.
I've already bought a set. I've been training with them.
But that's, I mean, if you're looking for, because they're different than the Dinnie rings, so and Gordon's making them, so give him a shout.
They're a lot harder.
My wife's calling me, my dinner's ready. I'm a grown boy, you know. We need to keep our strength up for all these stone tours we're going to do.
Yeah.
Jamie, listen, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Stevie. I appreciate it.
You know, see the last 4 weeks talking to Pete and Brett and Mark and yourself. I mean, this kind of came out of nowhere. It was Pete Seddon contacted me out of the blue. Said, Stevie, do you fancy having a wee yarn? Just go live on Instagram and just see what happens. I thought, give it a go, you know. And you know what? I mean, I look forward to my Friday nights now. So I do. You know, so I mean, I'm going to be speaking to Gary about the disabled strongman movement, but that's going to be about 1
Gary messaged me after you spoke to Brett.
Yes.
Gary messaged me, and so I'm going to take Gary on a stone tour as well.
Good stuff. Gary's a strong boy. He came to my house once.
Gary's wanting to come over here and do some of the stones, so
yeah,
I've volunteered myself for that. No problemo.
Good job. Here, I just want to give a wee plug for next week, okay? Because
no worries.
I thought, I mean, I've been talking to all my pals, all of us who kind of are involved in this together. But obviously, my hero, my favourite stone lifter of all time is my dad. And I'm going to have a chat with my dad next week.
That'll be good. I'll be listening to
that. I think, I mean, like I say, when we're getting all these stories out there and stuff, you know, I mean, obviously I've done a lot of talking about Dad and telling everybody what he's done, but I kind of like everybody who's interested in what we're doing here to hear. So I'm going to call next week's from the horse's mouth. You know, I mean, today's is a stone a day keeps the doctor away. So next is going to be from the horse's mouth. I'd like people to hear my dad's story from my dad. You know.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
The week after, I think I can take that a stage further, because obviously at the moment, I mean, apart from obviously Donald Dinnie and his dad, my dad and I are the only father and son to lift the Dinnie stones. There's a chap called Dr. Bill Crawford.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he was like the first sort of early wave of Dinnie stone lifters. He's a commentator at the Arnold's now, and
yeah, I know he is. Yeah.
So his son, young Billy, is I mean, he's at the full weight. He's training away. He's obviously got a good teacher in his dad. So I'm going to speak to Bill and his son Billy the week after. But it'll be myself and my dad and Bill and Billy. You know, so obviously from my father and son who've done it, your father and son who I think are about to do it. You know, just to kind of see how. Just I don't know how it's going to go, but we'll just have a yarn and see.
Well, that's the good thing about these kind of things, Steve. It's just about chatting, eh? It's just
it is, mate.
It's just kind of mate chatting, eh?
I love it. That's
what I like about it is,
you know.
What I like about it is obviously people can message and, you know.
Yeah, I know.
And it's kind of interactive, if you like.
I'm not blind. I find it very hard to flip and read all this stuff.
Well, hence why I'm getting these going.
Who are you anyway? Well, listen, I'm going to go and get my dinner, pal. It's been lovely talking to you.
Yeah, it's been great, Stevie. I appreciate it.
Big hug from me, and I'll see you soon, pal.
Right, pal. Thank you. See you later, guys. Yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening, because it's amazing. Because it's all the interaction and, you know, people kind of pushing us and asking questions. I love it. No, so long may it continue, onwards and upwards.
Right, take care, man.
Take it easy, brother. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye night. So how do we turn this off? Oh dear, dear. I really want to record this like I did last time. In the comment. Oh, it's going to do it again, isn't it? I'm trying to turn this off, everybody, by the way. Seriously.